Across the breadth of Ukraine, the pre-dawn quiet was violently shattered by the familiar and dreaded sounds of war, as Russia unleashed one of the most extensive and coordinated aerial bombardments seen in many months. The assault, a complex symphony of destruction involving a swarm of unmanned aerial vehicles and a multi-wave barrage of hypersonic cruise and ballistic missiles, targeted critical infrastructures and population centers from the capital city of Kyiv in the north to the vital ports of Odessa in the south, and from the battered eastern city of Kharkiv to the relative sanctuary of Lviv in the west. The scale and intensity of the attack suggests a deliberate and strategic effort by Moscow to cripple Ukraine's ability to function, sow terror among its civilian population, and degrade its capacity to sustain its war effort. The strikes began in the darkest hours of the morning, with Ukrainian air defense alerts screaming to life in nearly every region of the country. The initial waves consisted of scores of Iranian-designed Shahed drones launched from multiple directions. These slow-moving but numerous drones serve a dual purpose for Russian military planners. Their primary roles were to saturate and overwhelm Ukrainian air defense systems, forcing them to expend valuable and limited interceptor missiles on relatively inexpensive targets. The secondary and equally important role was to map the locations of Ukrainian air defense batteries as they activated to engage the incoming threats, providing crucial targeting data for the more sophisticated and powerful missile attacks that were to follow. In the capital city of Kyiv, residents were jolted from their sleep by the low buzzing sound of the approaching drones, followed by the deafening roar of air defense systems firing into the night sky. Explosion illuminated the clouds as interceptors met their targets. However, this initial phase was merely the prelude. Shortly after the drone attack began, Russian strategic bombers flying in airspace over the Caspian Sea launched a volley of Kh-101 air-launched cruise missiles. Simultaneously, Russian naval vessels in the Black Sea fired a barrage of caliber sea-launched cruise missiles. These weapons, flying at low altitude and using terrain to mask their approach, raced toward the capital from several different directions. The main focus of the assault on Kyiv appeared to be the city's energy infrastructure, a consistent target of Russian attacks throughout the war. Several explosions were reported in the vicinity of major power substations on the outskirts of the city, and a large fire broke out at a thermal power plant responsible for providing electricity and heat to a significant portions of the capital region. The resulting damage led to immediate and widespread power outage in several of Kyiv's districts, leaving hundreds of thousands of people without electricity. The city's mayor confirmed the attack on critical infrastructure and urged citizens to conserve power and water, warning that emergency repairs could take a significant amount of time. Rescue service rushed to the scene of the strikes, battling fires and searching for potential casualties. The eastern city of Kharkiv, located perilously close to the Russian border, endured a particularly brutal assault. Due to its proximity to the frontier, the city has little warning time for many types of Russian attack. It was targeted with a combination of S-300 surface-to-air missile used in a surface-to-surface role and faster, more powerful Iskander ballistic missiles. These weapons are notoriously difficult to intercept. The strikes in Kharkiv appear to be less discriminate than those in Kyiv, with missiles slamming into both industrial zones on the city's northern edge and densely populated residential neighborhood. One missile carved a missile crater in the courtyard of a large apartment complex, shattering windows for blocks around and causing the partial collapse of one of the buildings. Emergency crews worked frantically in the rubble, pulling dazed and injured survivors from the wreckage. The head of the Kharkiv Regional Military Administration condemned the attack as a clear act of state terrorism, stating that there were no military facilities in the residential area that were hit. The attack inflicted numerous civilian casualties and once again highlighted the extreme vulnerability of the city's population. Far to the west, the city of Lviv, which has often served as a safe haven for displaced Ukrainians and a logistical hub for Western aid, was not spared. The attack on Lviv demonstrated Russia's continued ability to project its power across the entire territory of Ukraine. Long-range cruise missiles, likely launched from bombers deep inside Russian territory, targeted the region. Ukrainian air defense in the west managed to intercept a number of the incoming missiles, but several found their mark. One of the primary targets appeared to be a large industrial facility near the city that Ukrainian officials have acknowledged was involved in the repair of military equipment. Another strike was reported near a key railway junction, a critical node for the transportation of goods, including both civilian supplies and military hardware, moving into and out of Ukraine via the Polish border. The attack on Lviv served as a stark reminder that no part of the country is truly safe from the reach of Russia's long-range arsenal and was likely intended to disrupt the flow of Western assistance to the front line. In the south, the port city of Odessa, a critical gateway for Ukraine's grain export to the rest of the world, was hammered by a combination of sea-launched cruise missiles and hypersonic missiles. The port's infrastructure was the clear target. Several missiles struck grain storage silos and loading terminals, sparking massive fires that sent plumes of thick black smoke over the Black Sea coast. The use of hypersonic missiles such as the Kinzhal, which travel at many times the speed of sound and follow an unpredictable flight path, presented a particularly difficult challenge for Odessa's air defenders. These weapons are designed to penetrate even the most sophisticated air defense network. The attack on Odessa carries grave implications not only for Ukraine's economy, which is heavily reliant on agricultural export, but also for global food security. The deliberate targeting of grain export facilities is seen by many international observers as an attempt by Moscow to weaponize food supplies and place economic pressure on both Ukraine and the countries that depend on its grain. The Ukrainian Air Force reported that its air defense units had been engaged in a massive and difficult battle throughout the morning. In a preliminary statement, the Air Force Command claimed that it had successfully shut down the vast majority of the Shahed drones and a significant percentage of the slow-moving cruise missile. This success is a testament to the growing proficiency of Ukrainian air defense crews and the effectiveness of the Western supply system they operate, such as the Patriot, IRIS-T, and NASAMS. However, military officials conceded that they were largely unable to stop the ballistic and hypersonic missiles that struck targets in Kharkiv and Odessa. They renewed their urgent appeal to Western partners, emphasizing the desperate need for more advanced air defense systems, particularly those capable of intercepting ballistic threats, and for a much larger supply of interceptor missiles to counter Russia's strategy of saturation attacks. President Zelensky, in a morning address to the nation, condemned the Russian strikes as barbaric and aimed at breaking the will of the Ukrainian people. He vowed that Russia would not achieve its goal and praised the heroic work of the air defense crews and emergency responders. The Russian Ministry of Defense, in its daily briefing, issued a statement claiming responsibility for what it described as a massive retaliatory strike with high-precision long-range weapons. Moscow asserted that the strike were conducted in response to alleged Ukrainian attempts to target Russian energy facilities. The Russian statement claimed that all designated targets were hit and that the objective of the strike were achieved. It maintained, as it has consistently throughout the war, that its force only targeted military infrastructure, defense industry facilities, and the energy infrastructure that supports them. The statement made no mention of the extensive damage to residential buildings or the numerous civilian casualties reported by Ukrainian officials, dismissing such a report as Ukrainian propaganda. The large-scale attack drew swift condemnation from the United States. In Washington, the Donald Trump administration reacted with strong words. A statement released by the White House on behalf of President Trump called the Russian bombardment a brutal and depraved assault on the civilian populations of Ukraine. The statement affirmed America's continued support for Ukraine's sovereignty, but also reiterated the president's desire to see a swift end to the conflict. Secretary of State Marco Rubio elaborated on the administration's position, describing the attack on port infrastructure as an assault not just on Ukraine, but on the global food supply. Secretary Rubio announced that he would be initiating emergency consultations with NATO allies and partners to coordinate a response. He also indicated that the United States would consider a new round of sanctions targeting Russia's defense industry and its ability to procure components for its missile production. From the Pentagon, Secretary of Defense Peter Hegseth provided a sober military assessment. He acknowledged the challenge that Russia's combined armed approach to aerial attack poses for Ukraine, noting the tactical sophistication of using drones to map defense before launching missile salvos. Secretary Hegseth confirmed that the administration was in direct contact with Ukrainian military leadership to assess the damage and determine the most urgent needs. He stated that the Department of Defense would work to expedite the delivery of already promised air defense assets, but also stressed the importance of Ukraine using these systems strategically to protect its most critical assets. The attack has placed renewed pressure on the Trump administration to further define the extent of its military commitment to Ukraine in the face of a clearly escalating Russian campaign to dismantle the country's infrastructure. Many of my listeners, like 70%, haven't subscribed to my YouTube channel. And so many of you don't even know that you haven't subscribed. And that is actually what makes the show going. It's almost like you're making a donation to the show. So that's why I ask again and again, because it enables us to grow and grow and grow. And we are going for the long haul here. And listen, if this is your first time listening to So Can Rich, you don't have to subscribe. You guys, you're first ones on me. But if you have watched this show before, it's like you are freeloading it. So all I would ask you is, if you have seen this show before and you like it, help me, help my team here. Hit that subscribe and like button now, and we will continue to build this show for you. That I swear. Thank you to all of you guys who have subscribed. It means a lot to me. Thank you so much. That's all for me for today. I will see you soon. Bye for now.